right, let's see if this is working. All right, claims that I am live right now. We'll see if it works because it is always really crappy here on Facebook. And where are if people comment? Okay, there's. Thank you, Christopher. All right, it's been a while since I've done a Facebook Live here on Stephen Avery Project on Facebook. My weather outside is about to storm, and my internet is always very iffy when I use the computer upstairs. So we'll see how this goes. So, who am I? My name is Jax West. I run Stephen Avery Project. I am no relation to the Avery family. Hello, Miley and Sherry. Sorry I haven't been live in a while. I work in politics and we just had our primary. And so I've been pretty busy doing that. So I haven't been able to do our Wednesdays at 1 on our YouTube channel, the Justice with Jax YouTube channel. But since today is the anniversary, the 1 year anniversary of Dolores's passing, and tomorrow is Stephen's 60th birthday, decided I would pop on and see if there's anything anybody wanted to discuss. Are they letting them go free yet? No. Sadly, both Stephen and Brendan are still in prison. Stephen recently, oh, my power flashed. Stephen recently got moved to a different prison that's not the maximum security prison, but it's only like 15 minutes away from Waupun, where he's been forever. And so he's moved down to a lower level freedom prison, which he'll have more freedom at, but he's still in prison, and we are still waiting for his attorney, Kathleen Zellner, to file something on Stephen's behalf. She posted it months ago on her Twitter page that she was going to be filing something, and we still wait. While I'm thinking about it, and Christopher, if you could put this up in the chat, one of the things that we are asked about the most is how can you write to Stephen and Brendan? And something that the Wisconsin prisons are doing is your mail gets sent to a completely different state, that then your letter is being typed and then sent electronically to the guys in prison. So when you see the address to write to Stephen and you see it says Maryland, he hasn't been moved to Maryland. If that's where he is, see, I haven't been following it that much on where the address is. I know we get the questions constantly about why does it say this state when he's in Wisconsin, but that is why. So Stephen is not getting the actual letter or card that you send to him or Brendan, which sucks and seems to me like it would be a lot more work to have to go somewhere and for somebody to have to type that up and then email it. So I don't know. That's weird to me. We do have, thank you, Christopher. Um, we do have in like our saved posts here on Stephen Avery Project where you can get the address to send something to Stephen. Oh, Joe Taylor says this will be because people can send drugs in on soaked paper. Oh my God, that's so bizarre. Here in Illinois, so Melissa Kaluzinski, who is another client of Kathleen Zellner's, so she's in prison here in Illinois. It still goes to the prison. Now, she doesn't necessarily get it right away. Might take a while. Even when I go to visit Melissa in prison and I bring her a book, it still takes a couple weeks before they clear it. It's really dumb. So, but Christopher has pinned the address to write to Stephen, so you can still send him something for his birthday. You know that you're thinking of him for his birthday, um, because the stuff takes a while to clear anyway. So today is the 1 year anniversary of Dolores Avery's passing. Unfortunately, she died last year, and it is a day before Stephen's birthday. I know a lot of people who don't follow the case so closely may have missed that Dolores passed away and are hearing it for the first time. We do have a public Facebook page that is called RIP Dolores Avery, and we set that up because that is where you can post messages and thoughts about Dolores Avery and just your condolences to Stephen. Our thought on setting up that page was for when Stephen is released. Not if, when Stephen is released, he'll be able to go on that page and go through people's thoughts for him. So in an easy place for him to be able to find it. Dolores, unfortunately, in the last few years of her life, she was going through dementia, and the family had put her in a care center. And the last year of her life, they pretty much kept her hidden from Stephen and wouldn't allow Stephen to have any contact with his mother. So Stephen feels like his mother died of a broken heart. They wouldn't let Stephen call her. They lied to Stephen about where she was. They were attempting to sue Stephen to try and keep Stephen away from his mother. As if Stephen hasn't gone through enough horrible things in his life. Now you have to add on to that the final year of his mother's life. His own family kept him from having any contact with her. I just can't imagine. Dolores was one of the few people who always defended and believed in Stephen's innocence. There's only Dolores and Stephen's cousin, Kim Ducat. So those are the only two from the get-go who have always supported and defended Stephen. Thumbs up, Nana. Dolores and Kim are the ones that have never tried to use Stephen's situation for their own personal gain. Veronica is asking, why didn't they let Stephen talk to his mom? Well, because I'm trying I'm trying to how do I word this nicely so Facebook doesn't punish me for bad words or whatever. Stephen's family only pretend to be on Stephen's side when it's it benefits them. And when they get mad at Stephen, they want to do something to punish him and to try and hurt him. And so taking his mom away from him, hey Maz, um, was how they punished him. And so something they would claim is that when Stephen would call, yeah, being diplomatic, Natalie, when Stephen would call, it wasn't like the best time for Dolores to be able to talk on the phone. Stephen's in prison and can only get the phone when he can get the phone. So you got to kind of make some concessions for when Stephen has the opportunity to use a phone. Then they would say, well, Dolores doesn't even know who he is because she was going through dementia or whatever. So they would say that Dolores didn't know what a telephone was or how to use a phone. Well, you could just put it on speakerphone and let Stephen talk to her and let Stephen hear her voice. That was more for Stephen than it would be for Dolores if she was in that kind of state. And you don't know if Dolores was kind of just trapped in her body and maybe her being able to hear Stephen's voice would have helped her. But no, instead, they kept Dolores from Stephen for the last year of her life. And Stephen would, when Stephen knew where she was and was able to call, they would try to do things to block his call. Because Kayla Avery, so Stephen's niece, who Kayla is the one who lied about Brendan to kind of point the finger at Brendan, and then when she was on the stand, she took back what she had been saying about Brendan. Kayla worked at the facility that Dolores was in. So they were doing everything to try and prevent Stephen from talking to his mom. So, but this is the family when Stephen was in prison the first time for the Penny Bernstein case. They all abandoned him. Except for his mom. Didn't go visit him. Didn't have anything to do with him. But when he got released, who's ready to be with him and be on camera? And then when Stephen went to prison for Teresa Halbach, who's in the press saying Stephen is guilty? His family. Didn't visit him. Left him in there to rot. And then Making a Murderer comes out December 18th, 2015. And now all of a sudden the family goes and visits him on Christmas after Making a Murderer becomes a huge global sensation. just what has been done to Stephen in his life. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine that you've got the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department framing you, and then you have your own family not supporting you, saying you're guilty, covering up for who maybe really is the killer, Bobby Dassey / Scott Taddock. And meanwhile, his family are free. They make GoFundMes. They have fans who send them gifts. They have parties. They have a yearly party where everybody come and pay attention to us and bring us stuff. Lisa asks, what is the next stages? Is someone still fighting for Stephen? Kathleen Zellner is still fighting for Stephen. Kathleen Zellner is still Stephen's attorney. People think because you don't hear anything recently on the case and that it's not in the courts that she's left the case. That's not true at all. She has said, and now I'm really bad with numbers, so one of you remind me, is it 15 years, 18 years? I can't remember. That Kathleen says is typically how long it takes her to overturn a wrongful conviction after she has taken the case. And she's only been on the case since January of 2016. Our system here in the States is horrible. So she is doing everything she can, but it is really hard when you try to get a new hearing and you have new evidence, but it goes back to the original judge. You think the judge is going to say, oh, my bad, I ruled wrong here, so let me overturn this and let you get another shot. No, they're all trying to help cover up for this horrible miscarriage of justice. Stephen is 100% innocent. All the evidence shows that. All the actual evidence, not the magic bullet or the magic key that Lank and Colborn are a part of. Lank and Colborn, who were part of Stephen being put away for the Penny Bernstein case, and who then even kept him there years longer and covered up that they knew it was Gregory Allen who really did it, attempted to rape Penny Bernstein. So by just going after Stephen because somebody from the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department, the wife, Stephen's cousin, didn't like Stephen, let's pin it on him and get rid of him. So Gregory Allen was free to rape and hurt other women. We have no idea what Bobby Dassey has done in these years since Stephen and Brendan have been locked away. And why is the family so desperate to defend and protect Bobby Dassey and Scott Taddock and are okay with Stephen and Brendan just sitting and rotting? You know, they'll say, this is our family, we're defending our family. But you're not protecting Stephen and Brendan. But you'll collect money or gifts for yourselves by being a family member of Stephen and Brendan. I mean, the way Barb Taddock has manipulated poor Brendan. Brendan really thinks his mom loves him and is his biggest supporter. Meanwhile, Barb is keeping information from Brendan and is okay with Brendan being in there while her husband and other son are most likely responsible. Right? Evidence all points to Bobby Dassey. Bobby Dassey is admittedly the last person to have seen Teresa Halbach alive. Bobby Dassey was obsessed with Teresa Halbach and would make comments to Stephen on the other days that Teresa had come to take photos of vehicles for Auto Trader, commenting that she had been there. Bobby Dassey is the only one home. Bobby Dassey is the only one there when all these disgusting things are put on the computer. That the family will defend this computer and will say, it was a family computer. It wasn't in Bobby's room. Well, yes, it was, because we've got the evidence when they took pictures inside Barb's trailer. The computer was in Bobby's room. And then there'll be, anybody could have used the computer. Stephen could have. Again, now trying to point the finger at Stephen. Stephen could have gone in there. Why would Stephen, if he's going to look up this disgusting porn and girls who look like Teresa Halbach being mutilated, why would he go into Barb's trailer and do it when he had his own internet? Oh, right, Kat. And then Barb will claim she didn't have internet back then. In trying to cover it up, but all the evidence is there that she did have internet then. If Stephen was to be wanting to look at porn, he would just look at his own place. Why would he go to his sister's house? And then they've gone so far to say that Barb's husband number 2, Tom Yanda, who she was divorcing because she had an affair with her husband, Tom Yanda's cousin, Scott Taddock, that Tom Yanda could have done it. Hi, Kim. Tom Yanda didn't live there anymore. So, again, though, the constant trying to point the finger at other family members, but not where the evidence points to. Bobby and Scott Taddock, crisscross. I always think of that throw mama from a train, crisscross. They're each other's alibi of we were each going hunting, and Bobby was going hunting at Scott's place, and Scott was going hunting somewhere else, and they happened to pass each other, and they know the exact time that they passed, blah, blah, blah. Yet, cell tower shows Bobby is not where he said he was, and was over there by the Cuss Road dead end. We've done a lot of videos. We've gone to Manitowoc several times where I've done live videos where I went to Cuss Road. I went into the deer camp. I've shown you if you walk from the deer camp to Avery Salvage, I mean, it's really close. Kathleen Zellner leaves no stone unturned. You've seen from her past filings, videos she's made of her firing the gun, having people who are dressed and look similar to Bobby and Teresa, how Bobby followed her and got her to pull over at Cuss Road. The way the splatter is in the back of the RAV4 on how that most likely came to be. There's nothing that points to Stephen doing this that isn't tainted. Lang finding a magic key, magic bullet, Sherry Big Hair Culhane being told by Sweaty Sweat Ken Kratz, find her in his trailer or garage. And then she also taints the evidence herself by, oh, she was doing a training and sneezed and talked and got her own DNA on stuff. Then you have lab people who went from Stevens Grand Am to the RAV4 and didn't change their gloves, transferring Stevens' DNA from one vehicle to the other. There's just so much to show that Stephen and Brendan are both innocent. All they have on Brendan is his coerced confession. The deer blood. Yes, Amy. So you've got that whole thing of Bobby gets a deer. Right then at that time. There's just so much shadiness. Pam of God. Yeah, Debbie. I've got a video that I've done of that where I've walked the Pam of God path. There is no way she is finding the RAV4 that fast without being told where to go. And I still think there is something suspicious with Ryan Hilgas, Mike Halbach, and Scott Blodorn. I know it doesn't match up with the theory that Kathleen Zellner goes by, but I absolutely believe that they helped police get the RAV4 onto the salvage yard property. Amy with the puppy scratches. Yeah, so Bobby Dassey has scratches on his back that he claimed was from his new puppy. But again, science, facts, not made by a puppy. Why do you have scratches on your back, Bobby Dassey? Maz, I do believe that Ryan Hilgas, Scott Blodorn, and Michael Halbach had to have given them a key, whatever. And then you've got her day planner. So I think the ex-boyfriend did that. I think right, Natalie, the day planner was written in the day that she goes missing. Yet how do you have that? Because she didn't go back home. I think they were told by law enforcement that the evidence is there. They know Stephen Avery did this, but due to this lawsuit that they were currently going through for his wrongful conviction, he would walk and get away with murder. And so I believe that they thought they were helping to frame a guilty man. And I'm actually not mad at it, I guess I have to say, because if my loved one was murdered and I thought their killer was going to get away with it and there was something I could do to make sure that that person was found guilty and prosecuted for it, I would do it. But in the years that have followed, and you look at the evidence, the actual evidence, not what Sherry Colhane and Lank and Colborn and Wiegert and Fassbender, Kratz, all. If you look at real evidence, not what was concocted, it has to at the very least give you reasonable doubt. And I would want to know what actually happened to my loved one. Not just go, case is solved. That's all that matters. We just needed somebody to be found guilty for it. Doesn't have to be the actual person. I would want whoever hurt my loved one to be the one punished for it. Is Steven man of the year? No. I know people always want to bring up the whole burning the cat incident, which Steven is not the one that burned the cat. He just took the blame for it. But he was there and was part laughing at it, whatever. Still not cool. I don't like it. I know people will say that, hurting animals is a beginning thing before they hurt people. Just because that cat incident happened does not mean Steven then later murdered some random girl. He had absolutely no reason. He was free. He had a girlfriend whom he loved. He was about to come into, what was that, $200,000 that he was going to be getting. And that is besides the $36 million lawsuit that was happening. So, sure, you can imagine somebody that was wrongfully convicted and served 18 years might be angry. But Steven was in a good place. Things were really happening for him. So there's absolutely no reason why he would murder some random girl, and that he would make a trail to show that she was coming to his place. Don't tell me that he was trying to cover it up by saying "be yonder" on the call, because the car he was selling was Barb's car. So that's why he said that name, because that's whose title the car's in that name. That's why it's "be yonder." And when Teresa talks to Auto Trader at some time during the day, she tells him she's going to the Avery brothers. She knew where she was going. They'll try to say that she was uncomfortable and scared of Steven, but on that phone call she laughed. And if she was truly intimidated by Steven or uncomfortable, she didn't have to take that job. She could have brought somebody with her. She wasn't scared or intimidated by Steven. What did you say, Natalie? The RAV4. Don't get why they don't have to give the RAV4 to Kathleen Zellner for testing. Our judicial system should want the truth. So if Kathleen is going to pay for this testing, it's not even like it's some financial burden for the state. And the agreement was that Kathleen was to get the RAV4. Yet she still has not had access to it. And then there are the bones. If you're saying Teresa Halbach never left the salvage yard, but then bones are found in the quarry, and during Stephen's trial, Ken Sweaty Sweat Kratz, these aren't the bones you're looking for. We're not going to talk about these bones at all. We don't even know if these bones are human. We don't know what these bones are. Let's not talk about these bones. Yet they put those bones in evidence, and then years later, they give the bones to the Halbach family. Why would those bones go to the Halbach family if that's not Teresa Halbach? Their excuse will be the Halbach family needs closure. How is it closure if these bones are from a quarry that you're claiming is not Teresa Halbach? So much to cover up this wrongful conviction of Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. Yep, I'll dig it up, Natalie. I will say on the RAV4, I am not one of the people that think that there's a green one and a blue one. I've said this a bunch of times over the years, but the color of her car is something that in different lights looks a different color. I believe the name of the color of her RAV4 was Mystic Teal. So in some lights it's going to look green, and in some lights it's going to look blue. So I don't think there's a blue and a green one, but there is all kinds of shadiness surrounding that RAV4. We just wait now for whenever Kathleen Zellner is going to do this filing that she tweeted about months ago. We just wait. For poor Brendan, his case has pretty much run its course. So Brendan is pretty much stuck waiting to see if there's something Kathleen Zellner is able to do with Stephen. But even if Kathleen is able to prove or to get Stephen out, it doesn't mean Brendan gets to go. Because just because Stephen would be declared innocent or whatever doesn't mean Brendan isn't still guilty. I'm not saying Brendan is guilty because Brendan is innocent, but Brendan confessed, and that's what makes his road tougher. Kathleen Zellner had another case, the Ryan Ferguson case, and so Charles, he's the one that came up with the story saying he and Ryan Ferguson did this together, and Ryan Ferguson, just like Stephen, always proclaimed his innocence and that he had nothing to do with it, and there's no evidence to tie Ryan Ferguson to it. And Kathleen was able to free him, but the other guy is still in prison. You can watch that. I don't know if it's on Hulu or Netflix. It's called Dream Killer. So Brendan's just got a tougher road because he confessed. But if you watch that confession and you learn about the read technique, it is so clear that Brendan had no idea what was happening to him. And you don't have to be someone of a lower IQ like Brendan to get tricked. So many people have confessed to crimes they didn't do. They're no match for the training that the officers have. So we just wait. Stephen Avery Project, we go dormant for a while as nothing's going on with the case. And we'll get messages from people every day saying what is happening. Is he free? Did Kathleen leave the case? No, it is still, we're just waiting. And as soon as there is news, we will put it out there for you. And when there's a filing, I go live and we read through the filing and talk about it. But there's just nothing going on right now to discuss. Correct. Okay. So again, the asking about the Maryland address, it's because Stephen only gets sent electronically now a copy of what is sent to him. Nothing goes to him directly. So that's why his mail is going to a different state than where he is. He is still in prison in Wisconsin. He's no longer at Waupun and now at Fox Lake. But Fox Lake is only like 15 minutes away from where he was. So, but yeah, we wait. I actually today, for the first time since May, I think it was May, I sat down and started working again on my book. I wrote a book on my experience on the Stephen Avery case. And I actually started writing the book years ago and then stopped and started again. And so I finished writing it last summer. And then it went to a friend of mine who is an editor, and she wanted a physical copy, not an electronic copy. That's what this is. And so she literally red penned. So I have to go through now my electronic copy and edit all of her changes on here. And she ended up not even editing the whole thing. I think she only did like half of it. So I worked on it for another 3 hours today, right before I went live here. So I am now up to page 125 that so I have edited 125 pages, and the book is 257 pages. But other things have happened since I stopped writing it. So once I get to the end of editing this, I'm sure I'm going to have to add a couple chapters of what's happened in Stephen's case over the last year. So and I'm just going to be self-publishing that on Amazon. That's what people have told me is the way to go. So you'll be able to find out here on Stephen Avery Project when my book is released, if you are interested in my experience with the Stephen Avery case. What are the changes for Stephen at the new place? Yeah, so there's less security. There's more opportunity for like classes and things for him to do. Things like that. I no longer I haven't had any contact with Stephen for a year now. He had called me last summer, the week after his mom died. First, somebody had reached out to me right away on the day that Dolores died, and they said, Stephen wants you to post that his mom died, and wanted me to post his comments on it. And I hadn't heard that Dolores had died, and I didn't trust that. So I then messaged Kathleen Zellner and asked her if it was true. And um, and then once I got confirmation from Kathleen that it was true, I then made the post on Stephen Avery Project that Dolores had passed away. And the week later, then Stephen called me. And so we talked a little bit, and I haven't heard from him since. But that kind of thing is what my book is mostly about, in my personal experience in the case and what has been done to me. Debbie screeches in. What has been done to me in just trying to advocate for Stephen and the people who lie to Stephen and whatnot. So I have I haven't talked to Stephen in a year and have had no contact with him. Once upon a time, I used to visit him in prison. So there's one visit. I think I have a picture from a second visit. There's the other visit. But Stephen's been poisoned against me by stupid lies. And whatever, I don't care. I don't have to have any contact with Stephen to believe in his innocence and to care about him going free. Just like many of you who are here, you don't have any contact with Stephen. You don't have to have contact with Stephen to believe in his innocence and work for him to hopefully be freed. Yeah, Natalie, there will be a meltdown when my book is published. Um, but for those of you who have been around a while, there's probably not much in there that you haven't heard me talk about already. So you know all the drama. And that's what our little subgroup MAM Gossip. MAM, for those that don't know, because I get asked that all the time too, stands for Making a Murderer. So we've got a closed group called MAM Gossip. And that's where we talk about a lot of the drama that surrounds the case. So we've talked about it for years in there. I had wanted this book to come out this month. That was my plan when I was writing it before. And I don't know. I don't know when it'll come out. I've got, let's see, that much left to edit. And then to possibly write some new chapters. My dogs are driving me crazy, barking downstairs right now. Okay, anything else I need to bring up before I go? And typically what I was doing before I've taken this hiatus, we were going live on the Justice with Jax YouTube channel. YouTube is easier for me to do lives on. Facebook, even though it's been okay right now, Facebook typically is harder. And I get put in Facebook jail at times where they punish me by not letting me go live. So that's why things started going on YouTube more. Christopher, our moderator, he always makes events for when I'm going to go live and let you know when and where I will be live next. And he posts it here. He posts it on all the pages. He's the moderator on all of our pages. So here in Justice with Jax and MAM Gossip, he puts it everywhere. Lamont, we do not know when Kathleen will file next, because she had tweeted months ago that she was about to, and now we haven't heard anything. So we just wait. But the thing that I'm going to say to you all, I understand being upset and annoyed that we're waiting, but you're not Steven. So imagine being Steven having to sit and wait all this time. And he is always, at least when I used to talk to him, mostly positive. And, he was always convinced right around the corner he's getting out. So, um, we just have to be patient. Appreciation post for Christopher. Christopher is the one who's always approving the new members, and Christopher is the one that in the MAM gossip, we have it set where posts have to be pre-approved so we can make sure no garbage gets put there. Christopher's the one that's approving all that. Christopher's doing all the work. I'm just a face. Christopher does all the hard work of moderating all the pages. Tom and I've always believed, Kathleen has never completely shown her hand. The only way to get Stephen back into court is new evidence. So every time she's done a filing, I don't think she has given up all the goods because she has to keep something back to be able to file again. And then you have new evidence that she finds or new witnesses. Let me do a plug too. If you know something about this case, go to Kathleen's website. Kathleen has a dedicated phone number and email address for this case. So if you know something, anything, no matter what it is, you might think she already knows it. Don't assume. Don't assume she has that information. So contact her. Her website, KathleenTZellner.com. Go there. Give that information. Stephen and Brendan have had their lives taken for far too long. It's time to let those boys go. And as we said at the beginning, this is the 1-year anniversary of Dolores' passing. And tomorrow is Stephen's 60th birthday. Stephen has basically been incarcerated since he was 22 years old. Lost his first wife, lost his children. He's got a bunch of grandkids now, too. Brendan wasn't able to have any kind of an adult life. Brendan didn't get to graduate high school, get his driver's license, take a girl on a date, play the newest Pokemon games. So if you know something, please reach out to Kathleen Zellner. All right, I think I'm calling this to a close. I know Christopher wants me to plug the Justice with Jack's Etsy shop. I've got all these stickers we've made over the years that are in the Etsy shop. So we've got, this one is Justice for Melissa Kaluzinski. Melissa likes to draw, and monarch butterflies are her favorite. This is actually my newest tattoo that I just got a couple weeks ago. That's from a drawing Melissa sent me of a monarch. So there's the Justice for Melissa. There's the Justice with Jack's vagina bat, because Carla and her friends like to try and make fun of me and call me a vagina bat. There's the sign, "We all live on Avery Road. Don't get strange." Guessing is not confessing. Brendan completely was just guessing, trying to tell Fassbender and Wiegert what they wanted to know. Let's slap Barb because people are always incensed on Barb's part in Brendan being incarcerated. Free Brendan Dassey. Brendan's favorite colors are orange and green. Free Stephen Avery. And then the Justice with Jax with the Monarch. Yeah, I got this. It hurt a lot. It's still kind of, it's scabbed right here still. Um, Melissa sent me a drawing of two butterflies. There was a monarch, and then there's a butterfly called a Melissa Blue, Melissa Blues. So she drew both of those, and so my tattoo guy only did this one on this one, and then in this space we'll be doing the Melissa Blue butterfly. But oh my god, he's like so booked. It's like takes forever to get in there. So my next appointment that I have scheduled with him isn't until December. Oh wow. So all right, so that's it for today. I will decide when I go live next, and Christopher will make the events for it. Thank you, everybody who joined us here today and who constantly are thinking of Stephen and Brendan and support their innocence. Soon as we hear anything, if there's a filing, we will bring it to you. If you come to Stephen Avery Project, if you've seen somewhere that there's been a filing in Stephen's case and it's not posted here, send us a message and let us know, because maybe you come across it before we do. When Kathleen files, she then will post her filing on her website eventually. So we will then get it from her website. When the state files, I then pay the clerk, and they charge me like 25 cents a page, like they're printing it, even though they just email it to me. But as soon as we get filings, we go live, immediately, and read through it with you all and discuss it. So if you don't see news on the case, it's because there isn't any news. But as soon as there is, we will bring it to you. So happy birthday, Stephen Avery. 60 years old tomorrow. And we will talk soon. Hopefully, maybe, right? Investigation continues.